Hi, hello, and howdy. My name is Erin of Essentially Erin, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about why I no longer strictly follow the curly girl method. First things first, this video is a judgment-free zone. I do not judge people who are still following the curly girl method. Please do not judge me for not strictly following it myself. So before I jump into why I no longer strictly follow the CGM, I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to embrace my curls and go natural a few years ago to begin with. It's no secret, I am biracial. My father is black and my mother is white. So I grew up with curly hair. Born and raised in Southern California, I was constantly at the beach or the pool, so my hair was just always in its natural state, very untamed, not unlike a lion's mane. However, I didn't start straightening my hair until about middle school, so about 13 years old. Elementary school was not easy for me. I was the sensitive kid. I unfortunately got bullied quite often, and a lot of that bullying came towards my hair. I had people call me Brillo Pad. They used to have competitions to see who could throw little balls of paper or eraser or pencil shavings into my hair before I would notice. I'll never forget that my grandmother spent hours one weekend doing a protective style of mini braids on my hair, and I went to school the next day and a bunch of kids kept calling me Medusa and pulling on my braids, telling kids not to look at me or else they'd turn to stone. Shocking for like sixth graders. But I went home in tears after that and I undid all of the braids in my hair, and I actually have never worn braids since. I don't know if my grandmother ever also forgave me for that. Either way, I had a rough go of it with my curls, and unfortunately kids can be cruel. They'll always find something to pick on somebody about. I unfortunately just took a lot of it to heart. So I started straightening my hair in middle school, and I really didn't stop until I moved out here to Seattle in about 2014. I realized after living here for about 6 months that because it rains or mists all the time, it's really pointless to have straight hair. It's constantly getting frizzy or starting to curl again just because there's just so much moisture in the air. So me making the decision to embrace my curls didn't actually come out of a desire to do it, more out of a frustration for the wasted time straightening my hair. Just being completely honest with you guys. However, I realized about a month or two after doing that how freeing it was to really just be wholly myself, and I hadn't done that for so long. The hardest part was hearing people say, "When are you going to straighten your hair again?" or "You look so much prettier when it's straight." And just know that while you may think that those things are compliments for some people, it's also a little disheartening to hear that you aren't pretty in your natural state or as pretty in your natural state. Food for thought. Needless to say, after 10, 15 years of flat ironing my hair, I had done quite a lot of damage. I've also dyed my hair pretty much every color under the sun. I used to box dye my hair a different color probably every 1 to 2 months when I lived in college. I just liked changing up my appearance a lot. I'd always had my hair cut while it was straight, so I never had the look that I wanted to whenever I first started to go natural. I just started growing my hair out and didn't care what it looked like. I actually didn't treat myself to my first curly girl haircut until about a year into my journey. I wanted to make sure that I was going to make it stick because curly haircuts are not cheap. So the first 6 months of my curly journey was really about me doing as much research and absorbing as much information as humanly possible. I started going through all of my hair products, throwing out what I didn't need or didn't want anymore, donating those that I hadn't opened yet, and just figuring out what could work. I did not have a lot of success. So I finally bit the bullet and purchased the Curly Girl Handbook by Lorraine Massey. It was a huge lifesaver. I know I've talked about this book in other videos. However, I generally recommend it for every single person who's starting their natural hair journey. It's full of a lot of good tips and tricks and resources just to let you know kind of where to begin, and then you can develop your own routine from there. So at this point, I've been on my curly journey for about 7 or 8 months, kind of fumbling and bumbling along, figuring it out as I go based off of Pinterest and YouTube and kind of what other people are giving me advice on, not really learning about my hair personally. After I bought the book, things changed. I started paying attention to the ingredients on my products, which is a huge part of the curly journey. I stopped using all heat. I only ever used my fingers to brush or detangle my hair. I stayed away from any sulfates, silicones, parabens, waxes, all that jazz that I've talked about in that other video. I didn't dye my hair at all. And overall, I definitely saw an improvement for the first few months. things kind of started to shift for me probably around 6 months of strictly following the curly girl journey. I noticed that my hair was falling really limp. I wasn't getting a lot of volume from it. It didn't necessarily feel like it was damaged or brittle in any way. It wasn't looking the way that it had in the very beginning. So I looked up a couple different issues that some people might have had. It looked like it could have been caused by buildup or a protein moisture imbalance. So I tried a few different things. No matter what I did though, my curls didn't seem to have life anymore in them. They just kind of hung limpy at my side, like Frowny McFlaccid curls. So at that point, I kind of modified the curly girl method myself. I looked at everything that I was following and adjusted kind of accordingly. So the first thing that I did was I actually added once a month a shampoo that had a sulfate. I wanted to see whether or not what was occurring was actually due to the buildup on my scalp. It kind of improved, but didn't really make a huge difference. So still to this day, my clarifying and my co-washing tend to take care of any buildup that I might have on my hair. The second thing I tried was using a brush. So for the most part, I had been styling with my fingers. I had tried several different styling methods, praying hands, pulsing, finger coiling, all that jazz. And it didn't really give me the volume that I wanted. Like I said before, everything just kind of seemed to pull downward, especially against my scalp. So I switched to brush styling. This made a huge difference. Not only was I able to get a lot of really good sized clumps, I noticed that because I had my hair in such a healthy spot before, I wasn't losing a ton of hair when I was brushing my hair. I only ever did it when my hair was wet and full of conditioner so that it had a good slip to it, and I was still left with really healthy looking hair. That was my first step off the path. Now, even though I was born and raised in California, I do consider the Midwest and the South my home. So I am very big on volume because the bigger the hair, the closer to God. So another thing that I added was heat. Now, I am very, 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 very specific about the heat that I add to my hair. Do not curl my hair. I do not flat iron my hair. I flat ironed my hair for the first time in like 2 or 3 years just a few months ago. And it was kind of freaky to see me with straight hair again. But other than that, I only ever add heat whenever I'm diffusing my hair. Depending on the method of diffusing that I'm using will determine the amount of heat that I use. If I am using the hover diffusing method where I glide the hairdryer around my scalp without ever actually touching my hair, then I can use medium to high heat because it's not actually touching the hair follicles and it's able to dry my roots faster. If I am pixie diffusing or scrunching diffusing into my hair, I always use low heat, low air speed. Both of those things seem to minimize any amounts of heat damage that I could have from that. Another thing that I like to do, I like to color my hair. I'm not gonna apologize for it. I enjoy it. I still like changing my hair up. I just don't do it as often, and I only ever see a professional to do it now. So it is more expensive, but it allows me to be a little bit more flexible with my appearance, which I like. As you can tell from my ends, at one point they were blonde. This blonde used to cover the majority of my head, and it's just been fading and pulling out ever since. The trick to coloring your hair is 1, wait until it's in a healthy spot to do so. 2, make sure that you're prepping your hair for color as well as repairing it after the damage is done. I really recommend always having at least one product in your routine that has protein in it, which is a great bond builder, and it allows the hair to repair itself. If you use any bleaching or brightening products, these will cause damage to your hair over time, and it's really important to re-include protein into your routine in order to start repairing that damage. I have a few favorite protein treatments that I will link below. The biggest one that you've probably heard of is Olaplex. It does work. Trust me, it does work. But I also have another one from Giovanni Cosmetics that I really love, and I will link that below as well. So those are probably the 3 main reasons why I stay away from a strict curly girl method following. However, I think that the curly girl method is a great reset for girls. So the things that I still do that are part of the curly girl method is I read all the ingredients on my products, making sure that water is the first ingredient on everything that I use. I still deep condition every 1 to 2 weeks. I usually rotate a protein treatment in there. I limit the amount of heat that I put on my hair. I follow a solid sleep routine so that I can protect my curls at night. And I'm trying to get better about getting regular trims. But again, mix and match as you see fit for your needs, your wallet, and your desired curls. That's all you can ask from yourself. So if you're just starting on your journey or you're in the middle of your journey and all of a sudden you've realized that your hair kind of isn't doing what it's supposed to and you haven't been following the curly girl method, maybe try a reset. Refresh your hair, go get it trimmed. Trust me, regular trims are something that I am terrible about doing. Again, it's expensive. However, it does 100% improve the health of your hair. I know I've said it on other videos, but truly, all of this is about you and your hair. My channel is a judgment-free zone where you can ask any question and I will give you an honest answer because I want you to understand that your journey is yours alone. It's nobody else's business, but it's nobody else's right to comment on how you treat your hair, especially if it's working for you. So what I would love for you guys to do if you have finished watching this is leave me a comment with one thing that you absolutely love about your hair. I don't care if it's the length, the color, the volume, the curlicues or the baby hairs that you have around your forehead. Just one thing. Just love and appreciate your hair. Because at the end of the day, your hair and you are beautiful as long as you're essentially being yourself.